All right, so here we are, chapter 17 and 18. This is it. This is the end. Last two chapters. So we're going to cover in chapter 17, we're going to talk about exhibits and trade shows. And then chapter 18, we're going to talk about kind of post event wrap ups and kind of what goes on there and why that's important. So when it comes to exhibits and trade shows, this is an unbelievable scope of coordination, communication, and tying in so many different elements together. If you've never been to a trade show or ever been, if you haven't had a chance to go prior to setup, and I've been very fortunate in having gone to many a trade show and have gotten there early to set up my own booth and watch all the coordination goes on. Whether it is 10 by 10 booths and that's all it is, or whether it's something massive like MPI, Meeting Professionals International, has their huge conference. There's one called RM, that one that I go to. It's called RIMS, Risk and Insurance Managers Society. These are massive conferences where they're bringing in things that are tall as three-story houses. Their footprint on the trade show floor, again, it's not 10 by 10. It's more like 30 by 30. They're just massive areas that include everything from carpeting to phone services to electronics to their cooking on site. Cars are brought in. It's just amazing. So again, trade shows, like most anything else, is limited only to your imagination as far as what's going to come in. But as far as the things that you're going to have to work with, if you get to this level, and for many of you, this would be to run trade shows of the kind of size they're talking about in the book. It's probably a little bit further down in most of your career paths. Now, I'm not saying you couldn't get there fast, but it takes a lot of experience and a lot of coordination and understanding. So, when doing something like this, typically you're working with either a very, very large hotel, something that you would see again in Vegas. I don't know if I've ever seen anything of those sizes outside of Vegas. Everything else would be more of a convention center where now you're talking about tens, if not hundreds of thousands of square feet. So, again, how you lay out your exhibit floor is going to be one element, right? It's got to have flow to it. It's got to have safety to it. You're putting obviously key components in certain spots. If you're going to have electricity, need to be by outlets. If you're going to run the electricity, how do I do that and keep everybody safe, not tripping over wires, right? Um, if this is going to have exhibits that are outside of just your booth setup, right? We're bringing in tractor trailers, Lamborghinis. We're bringing in, I was at a conference not too long ago for the Bermuda tourism industry, brought in a three-story structure, and you could go have meetings up on the second and third floors. So again, these are very complex, a lot of moving parts. You're going to be working with different unions most likely as far as the setups go, as far as laying down any kind of electricity, carpeting, any of those kind of things. So that's why I talk about a lot of moving pieces go on there. So the meetings that go on for something of this magnitude are happening weeks and months in advance to lay out exactly, okay, how do we do it? When do we do it? What's our timeline? And then the other thing you're going to talk about when you get outside of just a booth setup. Well, and I shouldn't even say that. Even with the booth setup, the other element is obviously dryage, bringing things in and getting them out again, right? So for the kind of things that I have like a 10 by 10 booth, and most of my materials I can carry into the convention center. Now we're getting a little bit bigger. We'll have stuff shipped at least to my hotel, and I'll take it from there because it's just too much to carry on a plane. But those are a little bit easier to deal with. But still, when that event is done, most often than not, I'm back boxing up my backdrop, maybe things I've had on my table, and I'm shipping it home. So I don't have to carry it in the plane, carry it back to my hotel, what have you. When you get into the much larger type trade shows, now you're talking about again buildings, cars, equipment. This takes a great deal of coordination and detail because just getting them in and out of the trade show area, it's an unbelievable undertaking. And again, they will ship those things out as well. So there's just a lot that goes on when we talk about um, the trade show elements. And again, the hierarchy is very similar to what you saw at a hotel. There's going to be a trade show manager. They're going to have responsibility. They're going to have people underneath them that take over certain segments of the trade show, right? It could be booth setup. It could be electricity. It could be internet. If they are allowing food to be, served. I've gone to places where they've made coffee, hot pretzels, donuts, you name it. They'll be setting that up. There are certain elements they have to be accounted for, right? Safety, food prep area, um, boy, what is allowed in that particular state, what is allowed in that particular arena. So there'll be a variety of individuals that are working for the convention center. And then, like a lot of other things, you're going to have third party contractors come in, right? And so someone might come in and say, we're going to provide all the carpet. And this sounds really kind of funny, but I've gone to numerous conferences where that wasn't included. So I had to rent the carpet prior to me getting there. Well, then that company's on site, and they're not doing just carpet. They'll do carpet, chairs, tables, lamps, all that kind of fun stuff. So I'll get a contact once I've said yes, I'm going to come to this exhibit, and they'll say, okay, here's who you're getting your stuff from. And if I want one 6-foot table, and I want 2 chairs, and I want carpet, and I want padding underneath the carpet, very important. Do I need a lamp? Do I need a trash can? Do I need something special? I was raffling off a jersey. I need something to hold the jersey. I got a stanchion that let me put the jersey on. So all of that will be arranged by a third party who brings all of that to the convention center, and then that's my contact. So yes, I'm under the Indianapolis Convention Center, but this third party is going to handle everything, and I got to work with them, and the convention center has to work with those guys. So it's an amazing, so many moving pieces going on at once. And like I said, I've always been the small fish in the big pond. I would have a hard time imagining some of the larger setups. We went to one conference where they were creating sand sculptures that were twice as tall as I am, 10 feet tall, 11 feet tall. And they had to come in with the sand and then start sculpturing it there. It's phenomenal what you can see at different shows. Um, so again, you have that hierarchy, right? All the way down to someone who's tearing down and setting up the actual individual booths. Somebody who probably is a rep of some kind to make sure things, are going okay. Is there a problem? Did you forget something? Again, it might be multiple third parties that are there because yeah, I forgot something, but it's going to fall in this category. I need a computer. This company doesn't do that. Is there a third party that does electronics? They might be on site, and I have to go through them. So again, trade shows are a huge deal, a huge moneymaker, enormous moneymaker, right? Because I pay to exhibit at these conferences. So it is for that big one I was talking about. Our cost is close to $6,000 for me to exhibit, and I'm one of 300 exhibits. So, what is that? $880,000, and just to rent my booth. That's not the extra stuff that I might need while I'm there. So it's a huge money maker for the conferences who run these. It's a huge money maker for the convention centers who host them. Um, Security obviously is a major concern because in a lot of cases you're bringing in, especially if you're showing examples of what you do. Again, the car convention, you're going to bring in the actual cars, equipment. You're talking about multi-million dollar pieces of equipment in some cases. And really, just the booth setups themselves can cost tens of thousands of dollars. Um, again, because of the quality of booth. Again, for me, I have a couple $100 pull-ups and a backdrop. That's it. I'm not a big time person in that regard. But across from me might be somebody who brings in the actual setup from a hotel room, which I saw this done before, and they've got $10,000, in their booth setup. So security is a major, major important element of it. Customer service is big because something's going to go wrong for somebody. Um, so again, you're managing so much when you talk about a convention, right? It's the people element, it's the hardware type element, it's safety, it's security, it's the feel for it, right? We talked about AV companies. I've gone to places where the light shows were going on all around us, sound systems, banners hanging down to let you know where to go. There are just so many moving pieces on a trade show. Um, Again, I would find it fascinating to get to be a part of one of those. That's not something I've experienced myself. Like I said, I've always been on the other side of the table, but I would love to get to plan one of those just to see all the different things that go into it. Um, so again, like I said, the book does a fantastic job, as always, of really getting into the minutia of the different elements of a convention center, and actually putting on an exhibit in a trade show. Like I said, for a lot of you, your first job probably out is not going to be there, not running one by yourself. Being a part of that process, I absolutely could see anybody doing that. Um, but it is something else on the larger levels to watch something like that happen. So there's chapter, was that 17? That was chapter 17. So it'll pop into chapter 18 now. So this is kind of wraps it up for us, and this is kind of the wrap up of when we have an event, and that's obviously the fun part of studying the build of the client and making sure that you've kind of sat down with them and gone through everything, and this is the time when you don't want any surprises. If you've done it right, you've kept them abreast of everything on the financial side, right? If there was attrition, if there was cancellation, if something didn't live up to expectations, did you have to add a meeting room because something grew and they weren't ready for it and it was unexpected? Did we add a dessert at the last minute? Things that maybe weren't on the initial BEO or the initial resume or the initial contract got added on later, right? So none of this should be a surprise. AV costs should be a surprise. Room cancellation. Someone got bumped up into a suite and the client said they'd pay for it. So, when you sit down and go through what's called a master folio or master account, nothing should be a shock to them. If it is, we've done something wrong, right? So at that point, it's just them going, yep, 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 yep. This all looks good. They sign off on it. We then send the billing, right? So now you can have the billing can be done in 10 different ways. It could be something where the client is paying for everything but the overnight rooms, right? So the individual guest will get an individual room folio and they'll pay for that. And the client is paying for everything else. The client might pay for all the rooms, but no, oh gosh, what am I saying? Nothing outside the room. So if you brought in food, if you got a movie, anything like that, client's not paying for it. They're just paying for the room and tax. So you're going to go through all that to make sure, okay, nothing here matches up, is a shock, or, for the VIPs, yes, we're paying for all their incidentals. We're going to take care of all that. So again, you're hoping at this point, none of this is a surprise. They check off on it. We send them the bill. Now, the other element of this is as a sales manager, I would want to come in at this particular meeting. And this is twofold. Number one, I want to make sure everything went well, right? So I'm going to be there to hear, I want to hear any feedback. And usually we would work together, my CSM and I, to say, okay, we're going to ask specific questions. What did you like? What didn't you like? Where did we drop the ball? Where did we knock it out of the ballpark? All those kind of things. And we're taking notes because we want to know how to get better. And if there's something we slipped up on, we want to make sure we correct it, whether for the next client or for this client when they come back. The other element for me is I'm looking to see, can I get this booking rebooked, right? If this is a yearly meeting, do they have anything else coming down the pipe? This is my opportunity, especially if we crushed it, to sit there and go, can I have it? Would you allow me to take on another meeting? And hopefully, if we did it well, the answer is going to be yes. We enjoyed this. The environment was impressive. We love the historical atmosphere. Your customer service is off the charts. I've got another meeting coming up in 3 months. It's going to be this, 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 and this. Let me give you some of the details now. The actual RFP is going to come out in a month, but I want you to get a jump start on this. That kind of relationship is so, so important. And that's where the CSM and the sales managers come back together again, right? I did my job in getting them in here. Hopefully I was, dead on with all the details I gave the CSM. CSM fixed every problem that came up, made it all happen. We sit down together, we make sure everything was good. We look to see what's coming up next. Would you want to come back to our hotel? Do we want them back? And that's a rarity. But I've had clients where my CSM will pull me aside and say, this one isn't worth it. Maybe it's a small amount of revenue and they were just awful to work with, whether it was they weren't prepared, they were very condescending, they didn't treat our staff well. I've had it happen once in my career in 10 years where we as a hotel decided we did not want the client back, that the amount of revenue was not worth the headaches that they brought with them. And like I said, that's a rarity, but it has happened before. Typically, it's, hey, this was a great match. Or they may come to us and say, you know what, for this meeting, perfect. My next one is 6,000 people. Okay, you're beyond the capacity of my hotel. But would you have any offshoot meetings from that one? Would your board of directors meet? Would you want to put your VIPs with us and put everybody else in the JW because they all like train cars? There's all kinds of different elements to still work in that sale, especially if you did a good job. So that's kind of how everything wraps up in the end, right? Bill gets sent out. Hopefully everything went well. And then CSM goes back to their next event and I go back to find my next sale. So that's it. That's chapter 18. That's the entire course right there. Hopefully everything went smooth. Hopefully these were just a little bit of help to go along with what you're learning from the book and from the outlines. Hopefully I've said this before in other lectures. As always, if I can be a resource in any way when it comes to your career, if there are introductions that I can do, if there's one-on-one conversations you want to have just to hear more about my background, if you'd like me to introduce you to people I know in the industry to get a better understanding of what wedding planners do, what GMs do, directors of sales, CSMs, revenue managers, room division managers, please, by all means, reach out to me. I'm happy to connect you with those that I know. There's some wonderful people in the industry who would be more than happy to share their experiences, give you a shadowing opportunity to make sure that this is indeed what you want to go into. So, thank you for being a part of my class. I greatly appreciate it. Best of luck with everything. Hopefully, I'll cross paths with you soon.